Caution, the following video might come off as counterintuitive and ironic as I'm advising about being careful about accepting advice. Keep in mind all the words displayed and knitted together are for perspective and entertainment purposes only, especially that cheeseburger reference. That was good. Thank you. Advice is beautiful. Advice is also everywhere. Advice about things are in places they shouldn't be, but also advice about things are in places they shouldn't be. There are always very few rules that are universal and can be used in all sorts of cases because most of the time everything is subjective. Everything bears a context, and so even if something is a golden fishing rule that works for most people, believing in something blindfolded might be insulting to your eyes because they were meant to see things even when it's ultimately your decision to make. Maybe you're viable and better off following advice that works for 99%, or maybe you're even in the 1%. What you need to do is to stop relying on statistics always first, of course, maybe. But then, instead get the context of the advisor and understand why did their advice work out and for what outcome is the advice for, before you decide to blast off at the speed of light. Because when you proceed with a plan as a result of advice, you keep working and following and maybe adjusting on your way along, but you can't spit out the piece of cake you just ate afterwards. And so every advice you need to follow is better off aligning with a part of a tingling feeling about what you want to do. What you feel doing is better, or at least have the clarity to find out so. Not aligning with your needs is like giving a sad, awkward smile while dining healthy with your friend when you wanted to down a cheeseburger deep down inside. You followed the advice of eating healthy, which is of course good for you, but at what cost? Part of your needs are fabulously important sometimes too. But even then, most of the time when we learn certain things from certain sources, good advice is very basic and generic. Neither does it come when you need it. You can't just throw a sonic doll at someone and expect them to spit wisdom faster. The most widespread varieties of advice that actually, and I mean for real, work, are not very specified or aren't contextually set up. Like, I know how to keep swimming, Dory, thank you, and that's beautiful in all respects, but I also need to still pull off calculating the distance between the Earth and Proxima b in my test. And the advice that is contextually set up is not found in the field that focuses on helping the majority. That's the problem a lot of us can't understand and just gather up whatever, wherever we find about something, sometimes not even advice, just people's cognition about something, or a very vague idea without doing our own research to know what actually is right or wrong. And we start following it, trying to not even think about our lack of confidence in what we actually want and how we want it. We can't always receive the right advice everywhere or even from the right source at all times. If you do, someone out there is doing God's work, I swear. That is why we're bound to always keep trying new things, realizing that we make mistakes following the advice of our own or someone else. But I guess the best source of advice is the realization of mistakes, or basically having a light bulb popping moments. It's like a fish swimming deep within the sea of practicality and implementation, and we need to catch it out because we learn from them the most. But we also can't possibly try out everything for a second or third time to learn every little lesson. Life might be as big as a huge mountain, but it's definitely not a whole planet. Then maybe skepticism is better. Taking advice from yourself and running trials in your own mind is the best bet. But I guess the smartest one is who can detect the most flaws being a skeptic, implementing a strategy in their minds virtually and figuring out the right approach and advice for themselves to overcome the problems they find. However, examples, surveys, or even case studies do help you see mistakes and flaws in an implemented plan. But also, to be in someone's 10.5 sized monk's trap shoes and to know how they got advice at times of necessity and how they got it. Because that is the advice to give yourself and is the most personalized and understood. And it doesn't allow you to waste time fiddling around which advice you should and shouldn't listen to understand what caution you need to give yourself before implementing one.